beautiful people. Welcome back to another amazing and impactful episode of the True Health Forever podcast, where we try to live our best life through the lens of holistic health. I'm your host, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game. And as usual, I have with me the smiling, the beautiful, the precious, the royal, the galactic hair crown queen herself. Please introduce yourself.
What's up, party people? My name is Sinclair, aka
the Health Nerd.
And happy to be here on a Saturday afternoon, evening.
Yes, whatever time it is. Yes. And we're coming through. One, we're switching up a few things. All right, we're going to hop into the episode. But two things. One, I'm standing up because I feel like I stand up naturally whenever I present.
Mm-hmm.
The podcast is the only time I sit down. So I was like, Devon, what are you doing? Be you, right? Stand up. We have the energy. So that's what we're doing. Secondly, we looked a little bit into the analytics. And according to the analytics, people want to know about the podcast as soon as possible. They want to get to the meat. They want to get to the knowledge. And we respect that. We listen to our audience. So we're going to dive right into today's episode, which is how hormones impact your life, right? This is from metabolism, from building muscles to literally almost everything in your body.
Yep.
Hormones are back there kind of pulling the strings,
Exactly.
doing the darn thing. All right. So I'm saying rhyme off the top. But Queen, you ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Are y'all ready to get into it? Cool. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. Yeah. TH4. Tell them. Yeah, but y'all.
Hey.
Oh goodness. Don't give us any type of excuse to dance.
I don't need one.
At all. So throughout this episode, feel free to put your questions in the live chat that are going on. Feel free to drop them in the comments, whatever you got to do. We want to make this an active and engaging learning experience. But Queen.
King.
Appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? I like the way that's up. But Professor the Health Nerd. I can cut Professor the Health Nerd. What are hormones? Basic level, in case people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What are hormones?
Hormones are basically they're like the chemical messengers that tell your body what to do. So if you think about like when you were kids and people used to pass notes.
Yes.
Pass a note to the cute girl or the cute guy or whatever.
No one ever passed me notes. I was a not too beautiful child.
I'm sorry. I didn't think I got any notes either.
You didn't get no notes?
I was a goody two-shoe. I was like, no.
So you refused the notes. You got them, but you were like a hormone inhibitor. You're like, nope. Nope.
Should have had a D8. No. So yeah, they're basically like, if you think like they're like passing notes to different parts of your body. They tell your body what to do based on your surroundings, based on what's happening, based on just your own body and what time of day it is. You know, we've talked about circadian rhythms and things like that. There are certain things that your body knows to do based on environmental cues. For example, sunlight. When sunlight is out, your melatonin goes down, which we'll talk about later. And that really gets your body going.
Okay.
So yeah, they're basically like the messengers. They send like little chemical signals to the rest of your body that say like, hey, it's time to do this, or hey, it's time to do that, or hey, whoa, you see that? Let's slow down.
Got you.
Yeah.
So what I see in my head, I'm insane. I see in my head, like traffic lights, stop signs, turn left, turn right, like literally signals in your body that are telling your body what to functionally do.
Yep.
Semi-accurate?
Yep.
Okay. Examples of, and if I'm skipping ahead, feel free to correct me at any time, Queen. But examples of hormones in our body and maybe what those different hormones are actually doing, what strings they pull on.
Yeah. So melatonin, I already mentioned, that's a hormone. That is really good for your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is basically, again, what your body knows to do based on environmental cues. For example, sun comes out, your skin realizes it registers that the sun is out. It feels that vitamin D, feels those sun rays, and it signals to the body, hey, releases melatonin, or it actually lowers melatonin. And that's when your body, there are certain cues that happen when that happens. So it's like a cause and effect. So right, all right, sun is out, melatonin, go back to sleep, go chill, go somewhere, chill.
Melatonin, go to sleep. That was funny.
Oh, I didn't even. Melatonin, go somewhere. It's time for, it's time for metabolism start going. It's time to get up. It's the morning time. We out and about and things like that. Whereas at night, once the sun goes down, your body registers that and your melatonin levels rise. And that's what actually makes you sleepy. So that's why, really we are like, when you think about like nocturnal creatures and things like that, whatever the opposite of nocturnal is, that's why we are the way we are. We're usually up at night. That's why, like, if you do like shift work, it can be really hard because your body literally is like this
fighting its nature.
Exactly. Everything in your body is saying it's time to sleep, but you got to do whatever you got to do. So yeah, that's one example.
Right. And even because I feel like sometimes we think we're night owls, right? Like, oh, I'm a nocturnal animal. No, we're all human.
Yeah.
So I feel like we all probably have this. We should have naturally the same circadian rhythm. We should have naturally the same melatonin levels. So don't fool yourself, right? I've been in that boat before. Like, oh, I get the best work done from 11 to 2 a.m. It's not true. I tried it the other night, putting this new desk that I just got together. It took me like 2 hours to put this desk together at midnight.
Yeah, I feel like your productivity levels just go.
Right. Your focus, your dexterity, even like hand-eye coordination is not as good. Just yeah. Go to sleep.
Try to scratch your nose and.
No, don't. I'm not that bad. I don't know about that. Scratch my nose going over here. But hopping back into it. All right. So melatonin, sleep. Right. So sun goes down, melatonin increases to put you to sleep. Sun comes up, melatonin goes to sleep to wake you up. Hope you remember that.
That works. Another one, go to my handy dandy list here.
Please.
Another one is cortisol, which we've also talked about on the podcast before. So that's known as kind of the stress hormone overall. That's how you usually will hear about cortisol. And so that's basically when your body registers or interprets. I always like to say interprets because it's not always necessarily a life or death situation, but you interpret, your brain interprets it as stress, and that's when your body releases cortisol, and that sends a whole lot of messages throughout your body. We've talked about that before, especially if there's different levels of stress, but if you're talking about an acute stress, that means really short and like a burst of energy, almost like that's like the more instinctual, like if you were being chased by a predator or something. These are
like if you wake up and you didn't wake up to your alarm and you think you're late. It's the worst.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that cortisol is like shoot.
That's the worst.
But yeah, there's a lot of things that happen. Your heartbeat, your heart rate increases, your blood your blood pressure increases, you start to sweat. There's just a lot of things. It's like that adrenaline. We've all kind of heard of adrenaline as well. So yeah, it's your fight or flight response. That's one of the things that cortisol controls. It also just controls your metabolism, your immune system. These are all things that cortisol influences. Another one, I like to mention ones we've already kind of mentioned in the podcast. So if you want more information, you go to
come on back.
Insulin. We've talked about insulin in our diabetes episode. We talked about insulin in our fasting episodes. Basically, insulin is a hormone, and insulin's job is to take the glucose in your blood and deliver it to your cells. So whenever you eat carbohydrates, your body, and that it doesn't matter what the source of carbohydrates is. It can be from a piece of bread or it can be from an apple. Regardless, your body breaks that down into glucose. Now, that doesn't mean that they're equal at all, but that just means in this example, for insulin's purpose, glucose is glucose. So it breaks it down into glucose, releases it into your blood, and that signals insulin to say, hey, insulin, it's time, come and do your job, pick up all this glucose and bring it to the cells. And once it does that, it can either you bring it to the cells for immediate use, and that's more for a short-term energy, or bring it to the cells to store as fat. And that's basically saved for later. That's what your body uses that's what your body uses for energy when it doesn't think that there's going to be food coming in anytime soon.
Fasting, I know this is maybe a curveball. How does fasting affect that specifically?
Fasting affects that by putting you in that state when your body doesn't think that there's another meal coming.
So and then it eats.
Exactly. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm out of immediate fuel, right? So you're still doing things, right? Even if you're just awake laying in bed, your body is still doing things, your organs are still doing things. So you're gonna need energy. So that's when it starts to eat away at your built-in fat.
Nice. Okay, I see off the top.
Every time you ask me these questions, I'm like,
oh, and then I know there's at least one more hormone on the list that we can talk about. And the reason why I think this one's important because it has to do with fertility.
It does.
It has to do with how we can multiply, be fruitful, have more amazing babies and people out there. So I found this one important. So Go ahead, Queen. Let us know what it is.
This is one, and I'm surprised that I had never heard of this before. And you would think that we would know about this since it's kind of like it's the pregnancy hormone. So this is progesterone. And this is basically, as I mentioned, so I don't know if we want to go into this now, but since we can. Progesterone is basically the hormone that helps women get pregnant, not only get pregnant, but stay pregnant, if that makes sense. Okay, so there is a delicate hormone balance that needs to happen once when a menstruating woman, once she releases her egg, you go into the luteal phase. And if we could show the image of the different phases, it can basically visualize that once your body releases the egg, you go into what's called the luteal phase. And during that time, your estrogen levels should be lower than your progesterone levels. And that is the balance that needs to happen in order for you to get pregnant. And actually, when I was reading up on why this balance is important for women to get pregnant, it was saying like one of the things that you can do to even help your chances is try to do things. Don't ask me what things, but try to do things to lengthen. Yeah, try to do things to lengthen that luteal phase because it allows for more time for the egg to be fertilized.
questions class. Yeah, we can show the graphic of like the chart and whatnot. I found it interesting that intuitively you would think that maybe the middle of the menstruation cycle, the period cycle, would be the best time to get pregnant, but it's really like the last 7 days, last 5 days or so.
It's like the last half, the last like 3/4 to half. But basically right after the mid-cycle is when you go into that luteal phase, and that's when your estrogen levels are actually they shouldn't be the highest. And if they are, that's normally what's happening when people have what's called estrogen dominance, and that can cause issues with fertility. That can make it harder to get pregnant when your hormones are not in balance.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting. So hopefully we'll be able to show that soon, but really quickly before we go into the next section, estrogen versus testosterone. Are you ready to talk about the differences between the two? Because I find it's interesting that we both, like men and women, both have both hormones, but at different levels, and they affect different things.
Yeah.
So are you ready, Professor?
Yeah, and this is I'm still learning about kind of the difference here, but really one of the important differences between estrogen and testosterone is that those control the sexual characteristics of folks. So when you think about,
does it though? Because it controls hair too. Is that deemed sexual?
Okay.
My bad, Professor. Do your thing. My bad. Do your thing.
Sexual, and I don't even know what to call them, like societal, like
things like the gender norms on appearance.
Yeah. So all of those kind of together.
Gotcha.
But it also had like things like breasts.
The phenotypical gender expression.
There you go.
Right when you have a nerd moment.
Right.
Let's go.
Nerd out.
To the people that are just listening, there's a lot of excitement going on. Definitely tune in to the Truvel Forever on YouTube so you can see the excitement, but hopefully you're able to feel that energy. I was very excited. All right, Queen, go ahead, get back to it.
But yeah, so things like if you have more estrogen in your body, you're more likely to hold on to fat. More estrogen usually lends itself to more fat on the body, usually lends itself to breasts, whether men or women.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let's see what else.
Go to the handy dandy list.
Muscle mass. Muscle mass is so testosterone is very good at building. It's like a building hormone. So like an anabolic. So it's building. So it helps you build muscle. Again, male, female, doesn't really matter. Testosterone helps you build muscle. So that's why it's typically easier for men to hold on to that muscle, to build the muscle, than it is for women. That don't mean we can't do it.
Nope.
It just means it may be a little hard.
Listen, I've seen some buff women hitting it. And so are there things, is it a I'm gonna raise my testosterone and lower my estrogen? Like, do they always have to be kind of a swing, or can you raise both, lower both?
Yeah, you're getting into those two hormones don't have to necessarily be like always in balance.
Like if there's 100%,
they're not. It's not like that from my understanding. Again, I'm still getting into my early phase of research of hormones, but I think especially for women, it's more the estrogen and progesterone hormones that you want to be, that balance and that ratio that you want to be watching.
Gotcha.